What if the only thing standing between you and financial success is your fear of risk? Sounds pretty intense, right? But you may want to take a step back. How many times have you sat on the sidelines and thought, maybe not right now, or I'll do it tomorrow? The thing is, for most people, that next time never comes. We've all been there, sweating over the thought of putting our hard-earned money on the line, or taking that bold career move. That fear of risk is like a gigantic wall in front of us, and we start to visualize the worst case scenario, losing all we have or eating ramen noodles for the next 10 years. But here's the truth, risk aversion could be more dangerous than taking an actual risk. Paradoxal, right? Sitting in your comfort zone might feel safe, but it is kind of like living in a bubble where nothing grows. That very same bubble may block you from opportunities that could take your finances from 0 to 100 real fast. So in this video, we're going to dive into the heart of that fear, the fear of taking financial risks, and I'll break it down for you so you understand it even better. We'll talk about why we're so psychologically weird to freak out when we even think about risk, how that fear might be holding you back from true financial success, and more importantly, how you can beat it. Do you want to shift careers, invest in the stock market, or establish your business? Whatever decision you're trying to make, we're going to look at it from every angle. Because although risk is scary stuff, it can also be the key that unlocks doors you didn't even know existed. Technically, financial risk is defined as a possibility of losing money on an investment or a business activity. Handling money is inherently a risky business, and you'd have to be really careful every step of the way. Whether you're careful or not, you can't really control what the outcome would be, and that can either be exciting or terrifying to you. Probably both. Take investing, for example. An investment in the stock market is like riding a roller coaster. You hope that it climbs steadily, but you know there's always a drop somewhere along the way. Some people like that little thrill, while some don't. When your investments do well, you'll feel like you're on top of the world. And when the market crashes, you might suddenly find yourself calculating how many days you can survive on those instant noodles. Things can be pretty dramatic for investors, and honestly, it's no wonder. But in reality, not all people invest. Let's just say you're in a stable job, but that new industry or role you've been eyeing keeps calling your name. This dilemma presents the classic internal debate. Would you stay where it's comfortable or take a leap into the unknown? If the new role goes well, it could open up incredible opportunities. However, there will always be a chance it won't, and then you're left explaining your bold move to friends and family at every gathering. If you really want to take it to the next level, then you might want to venture into entrepreneurship. This is probably the biggest financial risk of all. It's plain common sense. For business people, the biggest danger has to do with the risk of losing a good sum while starting the said business. When you jump into the unknown and decide to invest your most precious assets, time, money, and energy, the risk is inherently huge, but the reward can also be enormous. At the end of the day, your goal is to say that it was worth it. The real challenge, however, is balancing that fear with the possibility of success. Generally, when people are engaging with a business venture that gives them the possibility of experiencing a loss, they freeze. So what do? They stay in their comfort zone. Now, this isn't necessarily a bad thing per se, but whenever it's done, you're compromising your potential, and that's what needs to be avoided. Nonetheless, we can't really blame people for their decisions, especially when they did it out of fear. This also happens when they aren't really familiar with what they're doing. Well, realistically speaking, when people do not know how investments work or why markets move, the idea of putting money into something unknown becomes like walking through a minefield blindfolded. This kind of fear is what is causing tons of people to be risk averse, and that's totally understandable. The idea of watching their hard work unravel from one bad financial decision to another is an intimidating scenario, and this insecurity always leads people to an immense need of control. When it comes to financial risk, control is rarely guaranteed. Psychologically, the human brain is weird to dislike uncertainty. Every time uncertainty stands before us, survival instincts pop into our heads, and financial risk brighten up those alarm bells for uncertainty. The brain loves safety, so the safe bet is towards familiarity. That is, from a secure job to money sitting there safely in a low-interest savings account. Playing by the rules is comfortable because there's little to lose, or so it seems. You might want to consider the other side of the coin. The danger of risk avoidance is that sometimes you miss opportunities. A person who chooses not to invest in a prospective company for the fear of losing money may eventually see that same company increases wealth tenfold. Or consider a person who remains content with an unfulfilling job for years even though a better career is possible. Avoiding risk may be the safe option, but at what cost? At the end of the day, it hinders financial growth, and eventually people may end up regretting what they missed out on if they had made different financial choices. The key here is not to just take any risk, but to take calculated risk. While risk is scary, it's necessary. Taking a calculated risk is the opposite of jumping off a cliff without a parachute. If you're calculated, you're taking the time to check your gear before you take that jump. It's not about leaping into danger blindly, it's about knowing the odds, doing your homework to research, and acting after making an informed decision. Calculated risk is about weighing the pros and cons, thinking through potential outcomes, and planning. It is about taking intelligent risks, not reckless ones. Picture this scenario. For example, you are putting all your money on one lottery ticket in that hope that you might win. In a way, you are leaving things to chance, with little to no preparation. More often than not, acting on impulse and not thinking about the consequences beforehand leads to regret and unnecessary losses. Consider Jeff Bezos' story. When he created Amazon, it was a risk-free move. He left a well-paying job and entrusted everything into a small online bookstore. But he wasn't reckless either. Bezos studied the emerging market of e-commerce, had a good business plan, and took that leap with calculated precision. We all know how that has turned out. Some people might say that his success was made out of luck, but for business experts, it was the other way around. And then there's Sarah Blakely, the founder of Spanx. She invested her entire life savings into a footless pantyhose business. It was a huge gamble, but she took that risk. And now look at her. Sarah thoroughly studied her target market, creating a product that people would want, and was relentless even though the doors were slammed in her face. Today, she is a billionaire. Now that you know how damaging being risk-averse is, you're probably now curious as of how to overcome these feelings. As an investor or a business person, you'll need to armor up before entering the intimidating world of financial risk. And you do this by collecting knowledge, being prepared, and doing your research. Definitely, you won't feel nearly as vulnerable if you understand your target landscape. The more you know, the more confident you'll be when making decisions that will impact your future. Let's compare it to driving. There's a clear difference between driving blindfolded and using GPS. One is a disaster waiting to happen, while the other gives the driver a clear sense of direction. When you are prepared, risks do not feel like something of a gamble, but rather as strategic moves. The other good way to build confidence in taking a risk is by taking it little by little. You don't have to bet your life savings on one investment or plunge into entrepreneurship overnight. Begin making relatively smaller risks, such as making a small investment or undertaking a side project, and build on from there. As you become more comfortable, you can gradually increase the stakes as you perceive better outcome. It's like playing sports. You don't start with the heaviest weights. You work your way up. If you want your journey to be a little bit easier, consider surrounding yourself with mentors or advisors. Trust me, that's one of the smartest moves you can make. They've been in your place before, and they'd know what to do. These people will keep you grounded and provided advice based on their own experience, and will help you avoid a lot of issues. But you must remember that mentors are not mere cheerleaders. Their role is to encourage you to take smart, insightful risks and stretch your boundaries. Nonetheless, at the end of the day, you'll control your financial fate, and they're just cheering for you on the sidelines. In your financial journey, you will meet many people, aside from your mentors and co-investors. These are the people that may drag you down or lift you up. There's an extremely important lesson that you'll need to learn as early as you can. Always protect yourself from people who don't have genuine intentions for you. More often than not, they mask themselves as your friends and even mentors. They will encourage you to make decisions that benefit them and not you, or take opportunities that seem too good to be true. And honestly, if it does seem to be too good to be true, it probably is. The first red flag that you must look out for is that the person focuses more on their gain than on helping you. They may subtly push you into taking risky investments, ask for loans knowing very well they will not pay back, or get you into a pyramid scheme by telling you it is a guaranteed way to make money. These individuals are totally disinterested in your success. They just want to make money off of your trust. Once you've encountered someone like this, take appropriate actions to stay far away. Your decisions regarding your money should always be for your own purposes. It's essential to be mindful of the people that you allow in your financial circle. Make an effort to surround yourself with the people who have integrity and a genuine interest in your success. From a psychological psychological standpoint, this is important because humans are naturally social beings. We are influenced by the people we associate with, especially in matters like finance, where emotions like fear and greed can cloud our judgment. If you're around people who manipulate you or exploit your weaknesses, you're more likely to make poor decisions driven by emotions rather than logic. Now that we've explored the psychology behind taking risks, it's time to assess the technicalities of it. Think of it as like a checklist to help you avoid doing things in haste. For example, analyze the pros and cons of the decisions you're trying to make. What are the possible rewards in case everything goes well? Could this end with significant financial gain, more opportunities, or personal growth? On the other hand, what is at risk? Think about the disadvantages, how much you can lose. If you are thinking of putting your money into stocks, weigh the potential gain compared to the possible loss. Then ask yourself one question: can I afford to lose this? If you answered with a no, perhaps it's time to rethink whether it's worth it. The goal is to balance the risk with your ability to absorb the consequences if things don't go as planned. One of the ways to do this is through diversification. It's what happens when you spread your risk into different areas instead of putting all your eggs into one basket. For example, it means diversifying an investment portfolio, putting money into stocks, bonds, real estate, or even startups. This way, if an investment failed, you didn't lose everything. It's like ordering a variety of dishes at a restaurant. If one dish is terrible, you still have other options to enjoy. While this works in investing and dining, it applies to other parts of life too. For example, in your career. If you diversify the kind of skills you have a safety net in case one industry dries up. Having multiple income streams, side gigs, or skills will give you flexibility and bring down the overall risk. Now, once you have taken a risk, you don't just sit back and forget about it. You need to track your results. You need to monitor and analyze what's happening so you can learn from the outcomes. Is your high-risk investment performing well? Did it pay off? How did your decision to switch careers affect your overall happiness and financial well-being? Measuring what happens to your risks can give you valuable information for next time. With this approach, you'll learn to adjust, adapt, and even make yourself even smarter. So take your risk carefully and assess, diversify, and monitor. If things do not go your way, at least you'll still learn something. Now that we have discussed why people fear risk and how to overcome it with calculated decisions, it's time to reflect on your own financial journey. Are there opportunities that you have steered clear of because their risk felt too high? Consider the next calculated risk you're going to take. And remember, do not let fear hold you back. By continuously taking risks and growing outside your comfort zone, you will open yourself up to prosperity, new opportunities, and rewards that may just change your life. Ultimately, the biggest risk is not taking any risk at all. In a constantly changing world, playing it safe may appear attractive, but it also means being stagnant. Growth requires stepping into the unknown. So as you go forward, keep this in mind. The rewards of financial growth are waiting, but you have to be willing to take that first calculated leap. Now, if you watch this video all the way to the end, I really appreciate you. If you need any type of topic discussed or talked about, let me know down in the comments.